Hey, it's the off night, and Andy's not here. So that means I got to play Andy too. All right. That's enough of the music. It's just to get us going here. Okay. Hey, look, it worked. I pushed the button and something happened that I wanted it to. Anyway, it's the off night. We meet here every Monday night at 8 o'clock on the YouTube channel, The Off Night. YouTube.com/@TheOffNight, The Off Night. That's for the last 6 weeks. That's been our YouTube address. Same crew, same guys as always, bunch of old comics. Like we used to back in the 80s, get together on the nights that we're not working, hang out at the comedy club, or in this case, the StreamYard studio, which is all online. Started back in the pandemic, back in April of 2020. And a lot of these guys joined us shortly after we started it. And we're going to get going here in just a second. Andy's not here, so I'm going to introduce my wife. Here she is with our newsworthy poem of the week. Here is Susan Sweetman.
Hi. So Mark didn't give me the headlines this week, so you get what I chose. Here we go. Indictment number 4 has 13 charges against Trump. His life has gone downhill since a porn star he did hump. Hurricane Hillary and an earthquake rocked southwest USA, but today Southern California appears to be okay. In Italy, there is a creature invasion. Arthropods of the blue crab persuasion. Italians have discovered that they simply can't beat them. Therefore, they got recipes. Now they will eat them. A Los Angeles couple drove their Tesla to Montana, but charging was slow. 'Twas time to put on their pajama. So they found an outlet on the main street in town, but using their adapter to charge made all the people frown. Accused of stealing electricity, the couple paid the fee. Put up charging stations, they said. We don't expect to charge for free. So there you go. There's your poem, Mark.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Susan Sweetman, our staff poet, gives us all of our news in rhyme. Thank you very much. All right, let's get our guys out here. Let's see what order. You know what? We'll do it newest to oldest. So here's our newest contributor, one of our unclubbers on Sunday night, a member of Chili's Comedy Dojo. Please welcome Wesley Partridge, everyone.
Hello,
Oh,
sir.
Thanks for dressing up, Wes. Thanks for dressing up, buddy.
Hey.
Appreciate it.
I combed my hair too. Hey, I just came in from outside.
Which hair?
Yeah, right.
Which hair did you comb?
My nose, the nose hairs. Yeah.
Those are the,
No,
those are the ones that needed it.
I was doing my chores. I was out doing chores.
All right. Also with us, he's joined. He signed on with us. I guess it was a year and a half ago, 2.5. We'll ask him what he remembers. Anyway, here's your friend and mine, Jason Grant. Hi, Jason.
Hey, guys.
When did you join the show?
It was about a year and a half ago. I met Andy right outside a public restroom. And,
that's right.
Yeah, we were, and I gotta admit, I'm looking pretty good. I've been on the Susan Atkins diet. It's a joke, Susan Atkins diet. Never mind.
All right, let's bring out number 4.
Yeah, bring Sam out there.
Yeah, he's been with us since I think he first joined us in July of 2020. So he's on to his 4th year now. Please, a warm welcome. Oh, he adds some journalistic integrity because he was, in the media, and so it's good to have him back. Please welcome Sam Greenfield.
God, just the mention of journalistic integrity and Wesley splits. The hell is that?
That happens. What can I say? What happened here? What did he do?
Oh, by the way,
I'm here.
All right.
while the U.S. Marshals are looking for Wesley,
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
in, I was
All
there. He
right.
is. There he is.
Yeah.
I was in
There you go.
Vermont last week,
I had to
Thursday through
change.
Sunday, and it was beautiful. It was cold, and it rained, but it was still so beautiful. You know, it's so gorgeous up there. It's so green. But I took a bus up there and a bus back because it's astronomically cheaper than Amtrak.
Oh, okay.
Okay. However, let me say this: I will if if I have to piss my pants, I will do that before I go into another restroom in that bus.
Oh.
Oh,
God.
oh, yes, you
Oh.
will. I'll piss your pants before you go into another.
I mean, I had to hold my breath while I peed.
Oh.
The
Oh.
Greyhound bus restrooms.
Oh.
That right there. That should be a sentence for somebody.
There should be a drunk they can hire to clean the goddamn bathroom. Here's $20 and a fifth of fighting cock. That's actually a bourbon. Fighting cock.
Oh my fighting
Okay.
cock.
It's 38 cents a fifth.
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah.
The good stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They age it for like time's up. Yeah.
Yes,
They,
AM or PM on the vintage. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The why are you guys looking at me when you're bringing up bathrooms? By the way, I mean.
well, you're the guy who said that you met Andy outside a bathroom. We didn't
outside the
volunteer
bathroom. I didn't say I was inside. I mean, I didn't say he was at the next stall playing
that. A
tappy
guilty
tap.
conscience needs no accuser, young man.
For all I know, he could have been Larry Craig. Just have a wide stance. And
My favorite thing about Larry Craig
there's
is
so
when
many
he was
things.
walking away from when he was walking away with his wife. Said, "I am not gay." And some guy in the audience goes, "This is in Idaho, where now where he's from. Come on, Gary. Come on, Larry. Be gay. God damn it."
Well, I don't know. Maybe the yellow hanky hanging out of his left back pocket. I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
his wife. He adopted all three of her children.
well, yeah.
And
I think
so-
there's a reason for that, don't you think?
No, I think on that. Pardon the pun. I think on that he's on the straight and narrow. I do. I actually
okay.
do.
All right.
I do.
All right. Yeah.
But I and if he didn't, I'd be the first to tell you. But no, I absolutely do. But he the fear, the thing that kills me is the fear that these guys have of being found out shortens their lives.
Yeah.
The tension.
I don't think.
There was a guy. I hope you remember this guy, David Dreyer.
Yes.
David Dreyer was a congressman from California.
Yes.
He was
Yeah, I
good
remember.
looking. He was well spoken. He
Right.
had
Yep.
a good sense of humor. He was a
Yep.
conservative, and
Yep.
he was gay. And the reason they found out they found out he was gay was that his legislative assistant, his number two person,
Right.
accompanied him on every single trip.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is,
Purely coincidence. Pure
and he
coincidence.
got kicked out. He got kicked out, literally out of the Republican Party.
Well,
He was up to be a minority leader.
You say
and
minority whip?
Nice.
Nice. Minority whip. There you go.
There you go. All right. Okay, you bitches, get in line. Here we go.
Yeah. I think pretty soon the Whig Party will be back.
Oh, well, actually, I'd be in favor.
Well, that's
of
the
that.
drag show party, isn't it?
But about to say the wig and the single strand of pearls. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make it work.
It's always pretty until the very end.
But let's not forget, who was it? Wilbur Mills, who had the stripper jump out of the
Fanny
car
Fox.
and
Fanny
jump
Fox.
into.
And
The Tidal
drag-
Basin bombshell, was that her?
I got news
Yes,
for you.
that was her.
I was walking a girl around the Tidal Basin, which is where that happened.
Yeah.
That night.
Right.
And I was just about to kiss her, and all of a sudden I hear this humongously loud crash. And she goes, what was that? I go, and we look over, I go, oh Jesus, the car just crashed into the Tidal Basin. And I
Yeah.
go, well, it's only halfway in. They're not going to drown or anything. And so the police were there, which is a good thing about, that part of the DC is you have like 3 different police departments.
Yeah.
You have the National Park Service, you have the cops, and you have the Capitol Hill Police.
Capitol
And
Police.
so-
Yeah.
And so when the crash happened, There were two police units there in like 20 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And so Wilbur Mills gets out, and you could hear him. He goes, "Boys, how's your evening doing?"
I'm on my way to vote.
And Fanny Fox sounded like she was auditioning for the Cheetah Revenge. No, not Cheetah. The Charo story.
Oh God, Charo.
Gucci Gucci, touch my hoochie.
Yeah, that's Charo. Yes.
You know, for someone with no talent, except playing a little flamenco,
She could play guitar.
She had a very long career.
You know, but she was fun. She was my favorite.
She was feisty and cute. Yeah, she was
great to look at. She had great.
Yeah,
She could tell a story.
If you think about it, she was in the '60s for Merv Griffin and Mike Douglas what Richard Simmons was for David Letterman and Jay Leno. You know, sort of like that foil that they could always have on the show, and always knew there'd be high energy and.
I'll tell you the person who I
stuff.
think lived like a king on very, very little. Larry Bud Melman.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, watched.
He was an out-of-work actor, and Letterman found him, and I'm sure he's passed away now, but
years ago.
Letterman found him, and he's, you know.
What I thought was really petty of NBC, I don't know, when they wouldn't let him keep the Larry Bud Melman moniker. You know, when David moved, he had to go to Calvert.
They did the same thing. They did the same thing with something Letterman did.
Viewer Mail.
Viewer Mail. You know, it's the intellectual property.
Right.
You know.
It became Viewer Mail became an NBC property, so they had CBS Mailbag.
It's just so damn petty.
The thing I'm surprised that they didn't realize was that Letterman was just going to, you know, have fun with that. He was going to just savage them over that.
Yeah. You know, and we got some heavy breathing online. Is that you, Andy?
Yes, it's me.
Yeah, Andy is here to introduce our new
accident, or did you do a rollover?
I'm moving. I'm trying
One
not to
vote
hit
at a
people.
time.
I'm trying not to hit people. I'll turn off my microphone. Okay. All
Oh,
right.
you sound like Peter Lorre.
Yes. Yes.
I'm so happy to be here.
Little of transit, I have them in my pocket. All right. No, Nick, please help me now. I can't take it.
Although, give Peter Lorre credit, in the movie M, he really sets the bar for creepy people on stage or in film.
Anybody know his real name?
It's not Peter Lorre?
No.
What is it?
Laszlo Lowenstein.
All right.
Okay. Laszlo Lowenstein for Peter Lorre. Laszlo, my God, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the name change that mystified me. Joan Crawford's real name was Lucille LeSueur. What was wrong with someone in the 30s having the name Lucille LeSueur?
That's a great name.
That's a sexier name.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I mean, Joan Crawford. I mean, that. No, you're right, Lucille.
That could be your third grade teacher. I mean,
nobody
you
hears
know.
me. Nobody hears me.
I hear you.
I hear you.
Who took Lucille LeSueur?
No, that was no one. That was Joan Crawford's real name.
Oh.
And I thought, you know, what a name to give up.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's like Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's real name is Mark Vincent. What? That's not macho enough?
No, but that's definitely very 70s gay porn. That would Mark Vincent and John Holmes would do a scene together. That would stop Diesel. Well, no. Well, at this point, it would only enhance his career and really kind of, you know. I mean, that's.
I've never. This is. I hope this makes sense, but The Rock is what Vin Diesel wishes he was.
Yeah,
that's true.
But his real name is Dwayne what? Dwayne
Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson. Thank you. Yeah, he's an NFL. He's a former NFL player.
But he would go by that in a second because his father was Rocky Johnson and he loved his dad. His dad was a pro wrestler.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Rocky Johnson.
There you go.
Or as my wife said, "Why do you know this shit?" Why
I,
is it?
I
Why do
can't
you
help but
know
think
this
of
stuff? It's just it's so annoying. No one else knows this shit.
Why
Why
do
do you
this?
know it?
There's
No,
a new
no.
segment. There's a new segment for our show. Why does
Yeah.
Sam know this shit?
But here's the thing. I said, would you
Yeah.
rather I be someone my age who goes,
Yeah.
I saw this woman downtown. I forgot her name. It's your sister. So if you have a choice, I'd rather be the one who knows a lot and remembers it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I'll tell you what scared a woman. I knew from years ago in high school, and I can't. I ran into her, and she said, "Are you?" I mean, it's been 45 years, and she said, "Are you Sam Greenfield?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You're Joan DeLuzzi, right?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, I remember you. You lived at 1630 45th Street, Washington D.C., 2007. Your phone number, your phone number was 333-1889." She goes, "Your father worked for the Department of Commerce." She goes, "Why do you know all this?"
Yeah, no shit.
I said, "I liked you."
a lot.
She said, "But you never like called me or hung up or anything." I went, "No." See, in those days you could do that.
Yeah,
There was no
a
caller
time.
ID. No, but I never did. I did
No.
ask her to the prom, and I was so nervous asking her. She was gorgeous. I was so, and I knew I might be the 38th guy to have asked her. I was so nervous. I pretended like I had a sore throat. I didn't have the balls to. I just couldn't. And she said, "Sammy, that is so sweet of you." No. So I helped her run for student council president. I managed her campaign, and she won. And she beat the star football player at our school in the student council president. So I said, "Would you sign my yearbook for me?" She says, "Of course." This is what she wrote. "Dear Sammy, signing your books is so phony and disgusting. Thanks for all your campaign help, Joni."
Oh,
Oh,
Boy, if that doesn't pop a Woody, what
What to say
does?
is that isn't true love right there.
Yeah, seriously.
That's just wow. That's
"Dear Sammy, I'm going to sign your yearbook. Now take the gun off my mother's mouth." Okay.
By the way,
Oh,
here's the trick to the road trick.
What was that?
It's Andy breaking up, and although we've got a still
is
shot
that what
of
they
him right now.
on your personal experience?
There you go, a little better there, and now we have a really uncomfortable view from below. Now he's looking a lot like a Zardoz stunt double for the live action Zardoz, which I can't wait to see on stage.
You shouldn't have your eyes
Wow.
this close to someone who just had
Watch the
cataract surgery.
road.
I feel like I'm hunted, hated, despised.
Yeah.
I'm trying
look
to
like you're
get. I'm
about
trying
to
to get
take
out of
my son
Detroit so
kid
I can
on
talk to you
Halloween.
guys.
You
I
trying
had
to
to take
what?
somebody to Detroit.
You look like you
I had
just
to
got
take somebody
arrested
to
shoplifting
Detroit.
at a hardware store.
Oh, and remember, folks, this is the guy that people pay to have kids sit on his lap.
Trying to get to a safe place.
Well, while I'm the one that still has the
A
box
well
on my
place.
ankle, and I do the joke about the box on the ankle. I can get well within 100 feet of a school these days.
I think your problem was asking when you asked the kid instead of "How do you feel?" "How does this feel?" See, that was your mistake right there. Okay, so I'm going to tell this joke.
Oh my God!
So there's an. I hope I didn't tell. I couldn't have told it. So
go for it.
there's an elephant, a female elephant, leaning lazily against a tree, and an ant crawls up her leg.
Yes.
You know it?
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
No, I don't.
No,
You don't know
I
it,
love the
Wesley?
punchline.
No, I
Okay,
don't.
so an ant crawls up her leg, and he starts to have sex with her. And obviously, the elephant feels nothing, and the ant's going at it like a crazy person. And as the elephant shifts her body, she jostles a coconut from the tree she's leaning against, and it bops her on the head, and she goes, "Ah!" And the ant says, "Take all of it, bitch."
Yeah. The punchline my mother used to tell it with was "Suffer, bitch."
Yeah, either one is fine.
But they both work. Yeah, we get the point across. Oh God! So
That's a great joke.
what it is to grow up with hillbilly women in your life, I got to tell you,
Well, you know,
women who knew how to use handguns and shotguns and married a lot because they couldn't go steady and
when I grew up in D.C., not a majority, but a major part of D.C. was white rednecks.
yeah,
In the
Oh,
60s,
really?
when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and I lived in Southeast DC, which was either all black or all redneck. It was one or the other.
right.
It was one or the other. And when he got it, I went to a school in Georgetown. Everybody was devastated. People were crying. And I came home to Southeast Washington. And my next door neighbor, a kid named Harry Riston, he says, "Thank God they got rid of that nigger lover."
Yeah,
So
and they hated him for being a Catholic too, because clearly he was a papist. He was going to allow the Pope to run America.
I had a friend whose father said to me, they're building birdhouses all around the White House to hold the cardinals.
Yeah, and I never understood the whole anti-Catholic thing. I got plenty of it from my dad, who was an ex-Catholic, but he it wasn't
Because
anything.
they recognize a human being as all powerful.
Yeah,
The Pope.
yeah.
That's one of the major reasons.
My dad just used to grumble, "I don't give a damn about them because all they want is your money." So I mean, for him, it was just a very clear cut. It wasn't. He didn't care about dogma or anything else. It was just they were in his pocket, and he had
As
enough
opposed
people.
to the Baptists who would say, "Nah, keep your
Well,
money."
you see, my mother was an ex-Baptist who couldn't stand the Baptists because they'd be out there doing sowing their wild oats and then praying for crop failure the next day.
What's his name? A. Whitney Brown had a great joke.
Yes.
He said, "Baptists are people who hold your head underwater until you come around to their way of thinking."
Yeah.
Well, it's persuasive in its own little way. You got to admit.
Oh, shit.
So
My
Is
favorite line
Falwell
from
still
Reverence
alive?
Spirit.
Is Jerry Falwell still alive?
sadly, no.
No, I think he's passed away. His son is still alive. That's
He
another
did
problem.
die?
Yeah,
Oh
right.
yeah, he
Yes.
died a while ago. And I think Larry
And
Flint even.
Robertson's dead. I know he's dead.
Well, we can
Yeah.
only hope. I mean, at this point, I mean that but those guys. I remember them all through the '80s, and now they were always like trying to be. Yeah, they weren't doing the holier than thou thing. They didn't try. They did. But then you had the Jimmy Swaggarts, and you had the who was the faggot married to Tammy Faye, Jim Baker. And at that point, the mask was off. It's like, come on, we know all you people are all full of horse shit. When Jimmy Swaggart's down there paying some nickel a trick, Baton Rouge working girl to run around the car naked while he sits there and jerks off, and somehow or another he's closer to God than you or me.
Have you seen Sweat? What's his name now? Jim. Have you seen Baker lately?
No.
He's bald.
Well, yeah.
Has a white beard.
Right.
Glasses. He looks like he's one step from saying we represent the Lollipop Guild.
You see, that's why I always preferred Eugene Scott coming out of, I think it was Eugene Scott.
I remember him.
Him
Was
coming
a
out of
scary
LA.
bastard.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know,
God.
but he just sit there, smoke his cigar, drink whiskey, and say, "Send me money," and people did. I mean, but at least
that's what I liked about him. He was right to the point.
yeah. Hey, you want more? I want send me money. We need more money. I
Can't
mean,
do this without your money.
And when you're coked out of your gourd on mid-'80s coke, which by the way wasn't bad. I don't know what kind of coke you were getting back then, but the coke in Ann Arbor up until about '85 was pretty damn good.
Well, I was getting mine from the West Coast, so I was thrilled.
We were getting ours straight out of Florida. Had a friend of my mom's go down there in the old rental car going down 75 trick, buy a couple kilos from Carlos Lederer's
What's
people.
his name? Another one Whitney Brown did. He said he's with this girl at her apartment, and she's rolling a joint, and they're in Ohio,
Right.
And she goes, "Now listen, I want to warn you, this is pretty powerful pot. I don't know if you can handle it. And he goes, ooh, Ohio. Not like that shit I have to smoke in Humboldt County.
I still love the Merle Haggard story, and this is so Merle Haggard. He apparently picks up some chick to go have his way with her, and they go to her houseboat, and they're there for 8 days doing coke. He says, "I just remember coming to 8 days later. We were both still naked. Ain't neither one of us had sex yet, and they'd been on an 8-day coke binge." And again, the country stars they outdid the rock stars by
Oh my God, yes.
magnitudes. I mean
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
the rock stars were I don't know if Sharon said they were pussies compared to the country boys.
Also, they drank more.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's again
Which
another
is
thing
ironic. Which is ironic because when I think of country stars, you know, they're in the South. That's where booze is made.
I learned. Oh yeah,
That's
and they're
where
good at it.
bourbon comes from. You know.
Oh, I remember I made this mistake once, and I learned. I challenged my mom to a drinking contest. It did not end well for me. She was amused, but for me, it was damn near fate. I almost checked in with alcohol poisoning after about half an hour. So
There were 3 different times in my life where drinking almost killed me. One was I was at a frat party and I was standing on the balcony and I was drunk and I was leaning forward and they pulled me before I fell off the balcony.
there you go.
That was one.
Yep.
2 was I was drinking at a like a ski resort that we had rented out completely, and I drank, I don't know, 15 shots of Chivas Regal,
Fuck. Damn.
and almost choked to death on my own vomit.
Yeah.
And
But
then
it's good whiskey.
And then the third one was the bartender, who should be in jail for this, gave me 15 Bloody Marys.
Oh,
What?
I was I had sex in the bathroom with, I think it was a woman.
can you be
I was
sure
a
at
little
that
looped.
point? I mean,
Yeah, and and that drunk, I drove home over the Whitehurst Freeway, which is a bridge that connects Georgetown to the rest of. And I got home. It's a miracle. I got home. I threw up. I don't know, for like 2-3 years, and I woke up. I could not get out of bed. I could not lift my head till 11 o'clock the next night.
Yeah, when your hair hurts. Yeah.
Well, you know the old great Shelley Berman line. My tongue is asleep and my teeth itch.
Well, I can remember what's his name, Lee Marvin, talking about lying on the ground, just holding onto the grass, hoping not to be spun off the planet. And Lee Marvin would know. It was either him and John Cassavetes, I think, were having a couple of drinks together.
By the way, you remember that woman with the palimony, Michelle Raiola?
Yeah.
Do you know who she wound up with? Dick Van Dyke.
You're kidding.
Wow.
Nope, Dick Van Dyke. And they were together for years. They were together for years.
So he got Lee Marvin's cast off?
Well, he said that she described Lee Marvin as a horror show.
Well, yeah, he's Lee Marvin. Of course he is. I mean, he was married the whole time, to he had a real wife. It was sort of like that Spencer Tracy thing, where he was there with Katharine Hepburn for 40 years, but there was still a Mrs. Tracy in the background. And
I love when they describe a woman like that as long-suffering.
Yeah.
Because we don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know if she said, I wouldn't touch you for all the tea in China. You can have your whore. We don't know. We don't know.
Well, Rose Kennedy was renowned for, but then again, I think she got even with Joe after the last stroke, when it's just like, oh, it's just you and me, Joe, just you and me. I know this wouldn't be happening if you weren't in that chair, but Joe, you are in that chair. And don't worry about it.
The thing about Rose Kennedy, she had to turn her head away so much. I thought it was The Exorcist. Jesus, I mean.
I still love this Rose Kennedy have a black dress. That is funny.
That's a great.
Oh my God,
that's
funny.
Joke. That is a great joke.
Sadly, in this day and age, granted, I pushed the envelope a few weeks back when I was doing jokes about the Lincoln assassination, and no one, the punchlines were not landing. But then again, it's like, well, you know, it was 150 years ago. Maybe not as topical as I would like it to be.
You know what they
know.
said? I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it would still be true now. This is 40 years ago. Lincoln would have died had he been shot in our modern era.
Oh yeah,
because of where the bullet entered.
yeah.
There was no
like,
there was no saving him.
No saving him. Yeah, back of the head.
Right.
You know, I mean,
you know the joke. You know the joke. Name 3 guys who were shot in the back of the head.
Oh yes, yeah. The what? Lincoln,
Kennedy, and the guy sitting in front of Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've it's not a joke, but I've used this before when arguing policy with someone about, well, you weren't in the military, you shouldn't have any opinion. I said, well, who should we consult? Lee Harvey Oswald, William Kennedy, or William Calley, or the guy who was the Texas Tower shooter. You know, I mean, they were all in the military too.
Oh, the one who shot from Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
McVeigh.
No,
Yeah, I
that's
would say
McVeigh was the guy in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. But it's like, yeah, I mean, but if you have to be in the military to have an opinion, then,
But he was in the military.
Well, that's my point. Exactly, that's your point.
Well, what was Lee Harvey? What was the guy's name in Texas?
Charles
Whitman.
Charles
Yeah.
Whitman, yes.
Yeah.
And that he had a tumor the size of a fist growing in his head.
He shot a guy. He shot a cop between towers.
Yeah.
And the cop's name, yes, I'm the only one who ever remembered this. The cop's name was Billy Speed.
Right.
Oh,
How
the irony.
So what was the name of the
you
cop that
remember
Lee
that?
Harvey Oswald shot? You remember?
Say
Because
again?
when Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested, he was under suspicion of shooting Kennedy, but he was arrested for shooting a Dallas policeman.
Right.
And I can never remember the Dallas policeman's name.
Unlucky Jones.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
My sister's next door neighbor was on the Secret Service detail that day in Dallas. And when he came home, it wasn't out of anger or anything, but he couldn't talk to anybody for a month. He just he was so distraught.
I mean, that's a bad day. That's a bad day at the office. Bad day at the office.
It really is.
Jackie got her dress all messy. The schedule went to hell. I mean, then again, if you're like from Archduke Ferdinand, you're going, now hold on. I think we can top this.
Archduke Ferdinand, the guy who shot him, a guy named Princip.
Princip, yeah. Oh,
Princip.
God.
He actually watched
Princip,
the car go by.
Yeah.
Crossed the street and then waited for it to come around. And I'm
Right,
thinking to myself, there is no fucking security in this place.
No, they went down.
There's a guy he's holding a gun. It's not Mystery Theater.
Yeah, they went down the wrong alleyway the first time, so they had to turn around. There'd already been someone throwing a bomb at them. And the Archduke was like, well, that's really not the welcome I was looking forward to. And then his last words were, Sophie, stay alive for the children. And then didn't quite work out for her.
You know the story about the mayor of Chicago, Anton Cermak.
Is that the one who was like executed, or the guy who shot him with FDR?
Was executed.
Was executed before FDR was even inaugurated president. They'd managed
FDR was in Miami to thank. I don't know why he was thanking Cermak. Cermak was from Chicago, but they had a little get together in Miami.
Yeah.
And this guy Zangara, he stood up on a chair because he was short. That's not a joke. That's true.
Right.
Because he was short to shoot him. A woman saw him and knocked his hand. And by knocking his hand, he killed Cermak, whose last words were, "I'm glad it was me and not you."
Yeah.
And let me say this to all of you.
Yeah.
If I was in his shoes, that would never be my last words. I value life too much.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It would be this. My last words would be, "Can you believe this shit?"
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And then Zangara, yes, he was executed. And they said, and when they, he befuddled the judge. He befuddled the judge because the judge sentenced him to death. And Zangara, who I think was a Cuban, and his English was very limited. So he says, I'm going to sentence you to death in the electric chair. And he was like, oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's like Andy Kaufman. Oh, thank you very much.
Well, one of my favorite, and this isn't quite death sentence, but it's close, was when former Attorney General and Nixon campaign manager John Mitchell was being sentenced by John Sirica, and he got like 5 or 6 years. And they said,
did he get that much?
Oh, it was like 5, 6 years, and
wow.
I don't know if he served it all, but yeah, Sirica was a hanging judge, man.
Oh no, people were amazed because he was a big Republican. People were amazed how he went after these guys, and his response
he handed out
the
nickels
law
and
is the
dimes.
law.
Yeah, that's right. But someone asked John how he felt about going away. He goes, well, it could have been worse. He could have sentenced me to be married to Martha. So I mean, his divorce with Martha.
Can I tell you something? I don't. Did you ever see the movie Nixon with Anthony Hopkins?
That was brilliant.
But I've got to see the movie. It's I've seen a few clips of it.
Okay, E.G. Marshall plays John Mitchell.
Perfect.
And Nixon says to him, "How the fuck why do you put up with her?" And he says, "Well, she's fun and she's great in bed." And let me say, if you look like John Mitchell, and you can snag a woman who's great in bed, you put up with a lot.
You hold on to that. Yeah,
you damn right.
Even if she looks
she's glad to service you.
If she looks like Aunt B, but she puts out, you still.
Wow. Wow. Just the whole idea of Aunt B.
Remember Elaine
Should
Boozler?
I turn over?
Elaine Boozler used to do that routine of famous women having orgasms. Aunt B was one of them. Queen Elizabeth was another. Again,
who was the second one?
Queen Elizabeth.
Here's one I know I've never told you.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth and Diana, Princess Diana, are driving along. And a highwayman comes out of nowhere and pulls a gun and gets them out of the car and takes some of their jewelry and drives off with the car. So they're walking back to Buckingham Palace, and I love this joke. And the queen says to Diana, "I noticed that you still have most of your jewelry." And she says, "Well, yes, Your Highness, I'm somewhat embarrassed to say, but I hid it in my privates. And Your Majesty, if I may say, I noticed that you still have your crown and scepter." And she goes, "Yes, well, I'm older than you and I've had more children and I hid them in my privates." And then the Queen thought for a minute and said, "It's a pity Margaret wasn't with us. We could have saved the car."
Oh dear, poor Margaret. Yeah. She apparently had her personal toilet dolled up to look like a throne.
Well,
which I thought was tasteful.
Her problem was, she loved a guy and they wouldn't let her marry him.
Yeah, but they're the royal family. It's you know what? I mean, you got to jump. It could be worse. You are the royal family. Everyone else is like living on fish and chips and eels. I mean, occasionally they even cook the bloody things.
Or you could do what Harry did and say goodbye.
Harry is, by the way, not really. I mean, Diana had him, but as to who fathered him, there is some discussion.
I think it's Sinatra.
Yeah, well,
my answer for anyone who says who fathered him, it's always Sinatra.
But Frank could walk into a room, look at women, and just make them pregnant by looking at them. I mean, it's not fair. It's not fair that someone can do that, but Frank could.
I did the same thing, except it was breech birth. So,
Oh God! I mean, remember Warren Beatty in his prime in the mid-70s when Warren was just it. I mean, you look at him now. I mean, it's just like I don't know, but when that guy had women descending upon him by the gross.
Do you know? I told you the great line he had, right?
Yeah. When when you've made it, because he's talking about
there's all these women sitting around your pool, and you don't know who they are.
Right, and this is before the whole Rick James thing, so no one to say he roofied me and kept me hostage for several weeks, because normally that'd be
no. Those
something...
women were happy to be there.
exactly. They were like, that would be on the CV. I'd be, if you like come to and you're underneath Warren Beatty, it's like, well, this is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I won.
I was at the Playboy Mansion in 1982. I was in a band, and we had just played at the Hollywood Bowl.
Right.
It was us and two other. It was 50s music. It was us, Shana Na, and another group, and we played in front of 4,000 people.
Oh.
And somebody said, "What was that like?" I said, "Like it'll never happen to me again." That's what it was like.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. So after it was over, I was going to go back to the hotel, and they said, "How would?" And the guy from Shana Na, Bowser.
Yeah.
John Bauman, really nice guy, really, really nice guy. He said, "Sammy, you want to go to the Playboy Mansion?" And it's like the old line. I'm trying to think of a word faster than yes.
Even yes, yeah.
And so I said, "Yeah, that'd be fun." And he goes, "That's right, Sammy, it will be." And I said, "You said that with a certain sense of dread." He goes, "No, I'm sorry, I was just kidding." So we go there, and I walk in, and I'm there 5 minutes, and he said, "So what do you think?" I said, "I'm looking at women with whom I have no shot. I have no shot."
Yeah.
And so one of the women walks up to me and says, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Eli Wiesel." No, I said, I'm a guy. I'm Sam Greenfield. I sang at the Hollywood Bowl tonight. It was us and Shana Na and another group, the Defenders,
Yep.
and we all sang 50s music. And she goes, "You mean 50s music like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh my God, I love that music." I said, "Do you?" She goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "Here, come with me." And she takes me by the hand, and I said hand. She takes me by the hand, and there's a guy in this other room. I mean, it's a mansion. It is a mansion. It's not like, Elvis's Graceland. That's not a mansion. This is a mansion. And she says, "This is David. David plays guitar. Could I hear you sing something?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." So I sing something, and she goes, "Wow, you can really sing." I said, "Well, yeah." And she goes, "Come here." And you know the rest.
I feel like I missed something.
I missed something.
I was at the Playboy Mansion in 1982, and I had sung with Shana Na and another group at the Hollywood Bowl. We all did 50s music. And this woman walked up to me. I'm doing a recap for Ned. And this woman walked up to me, I think a Playboy bunny, I don't know. Because when I walked in, the first thing I thought was, there's no woman here I could score with. There is no woman here with whom I have a shot. And she comes up and says, "What do you do?" And I told her I was singing 50s music. She goes, "Oh, I love 50s music." She goes, "Come here." She takes me by the hand, takes me into another room. There's a guy playing guitar. She says, "David, play something for him to sing." And so it was "I Only Have Eyes for You."
Oh, that's such a good tune.
Yeah, it's a great tune. And she said, "That was beautiful. Come here." And takes me by the hand, and, well, I think you know the rest.
Do you know the Alan Havey story?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the Alan Havey story?
I know the one about the gay guy.
No. Okay, Alan Havey.
No, seriously, there was you tell yours.
I'm telling one that might complement yours. Alan Havey, you guys know who that is?
Yes.
He was at the Playboy Mansion just wandering around, and wandered into one of the many, many bedrooms, and there was Liza Minnelli sitting on the bed, and I think she was strumming a guitar or something. And they got to talking, and next thing you know, they're getting it on. And at but the punchline, in the throes of ecstasy, Liza cried out, "Fuck me, you idiot!"
Oh my
And that is like the defining Alan Havey story. He's so tired of telling that
Can
story.
I put that on my tombstone?
Supposedly,
That-
that's
Oh
what
my
she
God.
said.
That's like that thing on the Larry Sanders on the Larry David show when he's having sex with a Palestinian woman, and she goes, "Fuck me, you stinking Jew," and he goes, "Yes, I'm a horrible stinking Jew. I'm just I'm the worst. Fuck, I'm a kike. I'm the worst." Just,
maybe that inspired it because those two guys are friends, of course.
that's right.
That may have been the inspiration, but that was that's the Alan
The
Havey
only
story.
time I've seen Alan Havey was when he had that great turn on Mad Men.
He was terrific. He
was
played
He
Louis.
is a great stand-up.
And I've
brilliant
heard that.
stand-up.
I've never seen his stand up, and I
Oh.
heard that he was a comedian. I'm like, I got to check this guy
Withering.
out.
He did
Really?
something. He did something so gracious for me. When I
Yeah.
had a radio show in Vegas, he appeared on my show, and then he said, "Listen, I'm going to be tonight at I can't remember the name of these goddamn places, but
In Vegas?
yeah, he
Okay.
played there all the time. It's on the Strip.
Yeah.
As you're going down the Strip away from the old part or the new
Right.
part, it's on the right.
Doesn't matter. He was in
No,
Vegas.
it really doesn't matter because it's probably going by now. Anyway, he, just before he got into his act, and he goes, "Folks, I want to introduce someone right now, a wonderful radio talk show host here in Vegas. Please, Sam, stand up. Sam." That was very gracious of him.
Yeah.
That really
Nice.
was. But the Alan
He's
Havey
great.
story I have, he's a great guy. The
About
Alan
the
Havey,
date?
huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell the story. Tell the story.
Okay, so when he was acting, he's from Florida originally, and he was acting in I think it was maybe a dinner theater or something like that, with a guy he would never tell me his name, which also shows he's classy once you hear the story.
Yeah.
Who was pretty well known on TV, but is now doing dinner theater and making a nice bit of change. So the show's over, and he kind of, Havey kind of looked at him as a mentor. He'd been very kind to him. And he says to Havey, he goes, "Listen, now that this is done, why don't we go to my my room? I have some great weed, and we'll watch TV, and we'll. And he goes, and Havey said, "There is nothing I'd rather do, but I have to catch a 6 a.m. plane tomorrow to New York, and it's 1 o'clock now, and I have to try to get 3 hours sleep. I just can't. I'm so flattered. Please keep me in mind." And the guy said, "No, I understand that, but I'll get a car for you to take you. Just come on up, blah, blah, blah." And he says, I just can't. I know my own, I know my strengths. And the guy says, "I won't bite." And Havey said, he did this on stage. He goes, "And then I realized I was on a date. And I was playing hard to get."
The way he told it on stage was, he said, "Oh my God, I'm on a date, and I'm the girl."
Yes, I'm the girl.
I have been on the other end of that situation,
so to speak.
when we both realized, hold on, we're on dates with each other, because it was with a straight dude. And the thing is, I didn't realize that I was playing. I had fallen right into that role, and I'm like, hey, why don't? And then we just sort of like had this moment where we both kind of like, oh my God, it's like, oh, this is crazy. I mean,
yeah,
it was I didn't mean for it to be uncomfortable for him, and I didn't realize that I had turned on the kind of charm. I know me and charm offensive. I mean, offensive, yes. Charm, I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Havey story was he honestly didn't realize the guy was coming on to him until
he had no idea.
Way into the conversation.
And I'm just saying that as the guy, sometimes you don't realize you're doing it till you're doing it, and it's like,
too funny.
That's great. Hey, Ned, while you're here, we were talking about Letterman and how acrimonious the split was when he moved over to CBS, and especially how they wouldn't let Larry Bud Melman be, but they had to use his real name, whatever.
Calvin DeForest.
Yeah. Do you have any insight on just where does that come from? Does that come from like upper management, a producer, or is there that sort of pettiness?
Read Bill Carter's book, Late Night Wars, I think. Best.
Okay.
Bill Carter, New York Times. Well, they didn't want Dave to.
But I mean, is it like a corporate lawyer saying we don't want this or that, or is there someone just really really pissed off that
I
this
think it
guy's
came from
moving
upper
on?
management, not a producer.
No, upper management. Yeah, they were angry, but it was weird because Dave felt that the position was his. Johnny wanted Dave to have the job.
Right.
But Leno, who I worked for 2 years, who's a very nice man, campaigned for it openly.
Right.
There's a picture of Jay. Every TV station in America, the general manager has a picture on the wall with him and Jay Leno. Jay was like running for mayor, and they said his strategy was, "You can't give it to Dave. There's a picture of me and Jay in my office." So Dave felt that Jay got it in kind of an underhanded way and didn't deserve it, and many people agreed.
Was Jay the designated fill-in guy at that time before Johnny retired?
Leno was the permanent guest host. He hosted the show twice a week for like a year and a half.
They asked Carson about that, and he was very non-committal. If memory serves me, what he said was, "I really don't want to get into who I wanted. I just wish they had asked me."
But Dave, in private conversation, Johnny.
Oh no,
said,
absolutely no. He wanted
clearly,
Dave.
And Johnny never appeared on Jay's show, and he appeared on Dave's show once in a
And
row.
brought his own desk.
Well, also they did a remote. Dave spent a week in L.A. and there was a lot of funny bits in it, and one of them was Dave and Paul Schaefer got stranded on Mulholland, and they were trying to hitchhike. And a convertible pulls up, and it's Carson, and he looks at them, and he just shakes his head and drives away.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. That was funny.
There was also that one time that Carson came on the show at CBS Television City,
right?
When Letterman was out there on CBS, and he delivered the top 10 list. He didn't. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. They didn't have him give the top 10 list.
Right.
He delivered the card that had it on there. And he had like about a 5-minute ovation. It was an awesome thing.
And
you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When Johnny died, Dave did a monologue that went over big, and he said, "Just so you know, folks, Johnny Carson sent us jokes all the time. This monologue I just did, those were all Johnny's jokes."
Yeah,
so, they worshipped him. It was a real.
One of the things that separated Carson from Letterman was that Letterman, he would have comics on, but it was like, oh, yeah, all right, just get them on and get them off. It seemed to me that that's what he was like. Carson would stick his head in the green room and say, "Listen, have a great set tonight." That's Johnny Carson telling you that. You're on cloud 9.
And if Johnny gave you the proverbial this,
oh yeah,
your career started that day. And if he didn't, it didn't.
Well,
Jay could give a shit less. Jay hardly ever booked comics, and he did. They were all forgettable. Jimmy Brogan handled that. No, not one comic ever broke on the Leno version of the Tonight Show. Johnny at least a dozen comedians.
The worst thing I ever saw was that Bill Cosby, when he was substituting for Carson, and those are some horrible fucking shows.
Really?
But oh God, he would bring on young black comedians who weren't ready. They were not ready.
Not cool.
And one of them was named, I'll never forget this, because I had a classmate with this name, Greg Price, and he was an impressionist.
Never heard of him.
And he was so bad, they went to a commercial in the middle of his set.
Oh.
Because I'm watching this, and I'm like, and this is before you could rewind your tape.
Right.
And so I'm telling people, you know what the fuck just happened? And a friend of mine said, "I just watched it. I don't believe that fucking happened."
It's amazing.
And I said, but this is the funny part. I said, "Yeah, they cut him off." He said, "No, not that. That guy got on the fucking show.
Right,
I can't believe that happened." He said, "I can't believe they waited that long. I would have gone to commercial after I introduced him." Jesus, he was terrible.
Jim McCauley would have never allowed that. Never.
No. Neither would LaSalle.
Or LaSalle.
Because Johnny, I know, had scouts out there, as you've mentioned, looking for talent. Yep. And I've seen, a couple, one show after Gary Shandling came on for the first time. And he said that guy's career is going to change tomorrow morning.
Shandling,
Gary came out and just nailed it. Just nailed it right to the wall.
That was the...
Yeah,
that would make picture being on
Isn't
Johnny.
that where Stephen Wright got his?
Yes,
That's what
there's
Stephen
another-
Wright.
Too.
He
Yes.
was one of the most famous ones. He did 2 Tonight shows in a week. No one's ever done that before.
Who's
And
Stephen
Johnny
Wright?
offered him a writing job on the spot. Yeah, he had the biggest. He had the biggest boost ever.
You know the story about Rich Jenny, right? Rich Jenny
Which one?
had Rich Jenny. Rich
Yeah.
Jenny had this bit about Jaws 3. He said
Right.
it was the worst movie ever made. The idea that a shark would follow a family to the Barbados, and it was a 6 minute. You know why that movie was made? They asked Michael Caine, "How could you make such a shitty movie?" He said, "Well, I was looking at a mansion in Manchester,
Right,
and it
right.
cost $3 million, and that's what they're going to pay me."
Right.
And I said, well,
And
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So
Mm-hmm.
he's about to do this bit, and LaSalle walks up to him and says, "That bit you just did, I want you to go on the Tonight Show and do that bit." And he goes, "You want me to open with it?" He says, "No, you're not listening. I want you to do that bit and only that bit. It's 6 minutes. It's perfect.
Ah,
Please just do that bit." Well, God rest his soul, Rich Jenny was no fool. He
No.
did it. You know, I'll do what I want.
He was a brilliant comedian.
I'm
That-
Will
that-
Durst. I'll do
and
what I
and
want.
did but did he do it? Would it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. Oh, he nailed. Oh, God, yes.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Randy Credico's story?
I do.
Yeah.
I saw Randy Credico on the show.
Was this someone who crashed and burned, or?
Well, go ahead, Ned.
Randy Credico is a very fine impressionist and a good, funny guy, but mostly he's a political activist.
Heavily.
Very, very dedicated political activist.
Right.
And he was good enough that he got a shot on the show, but they said, "We want you to do your regular club act. We don't want any of that political
Right.
shit, any of that anti-American shit."
Political shit.
And Randy's like, "Okay, cool." And he went out there and did his, blistering scorched earth set.
Yeah.
And he got off, and Johnny said, "Good luck working those spick and N-word clubs in Jersey.
Oh, I don't remember that.
John, you're out of the business." And Randy
I don't remember
never
that.
recovered. That
Oh,
happened.
no, you're right. You know who I was thinking
He
of?
didn't say it on camera, obviously.
No,
but
no.
that's what he said to Randy after.
I'm sorry. You know who I was thinking of? I was thinking of Jimmy Tingle.
Probably something similar, because Jimmy was the same kind of guy.
Jimmy Tingle, when he finished, Carson clapped and said, "We need more of that on this show."
Oh,
He actually did. He said that.
that's
and-
not what happened to Randy.
No, Randy Credico. Well, one of the worst ones I ever saw was Fred Greenlee.
I love Fred Greenlee.
Well, the first
He
not
killed me.
Fred Greenlee did a bit about suicide, and a friend of Carson's child had killed himself.
Oh, yeah.
And Carson was pissed because they told him very specifically, "Don't do that,"
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
did.
Oh.
But you have the 6 minutes you want,
Yeah.
and they're telling you don't do. Well, I told you what happened with Will Durst.
No.
Will Durst. I can't remember the name of this woman, but it's easy to look up. She was that woman in the Navy who was in her late 70s.
Admiral Hopper. That's
Thank
Admiral
you.
Grace, Amazing Grace Hopper.
That's her. She devised all the computer programs for the United States Navy in the 70s.
Yes.
And Letterman would have her on the show, and she was funny and brilliant and droll, and the audience, which is young people, adored her. So Will comes out, and they tell him, try not to do anything about senior citizens, because the audience really loves her. And Will's like, "Oh yeah."
Ah!
He didn't say it, but So Will comes on stage and he says, and Ned, this is his opening. "I was just in New Hampshire, old people and their parents." And that was as good as it got.
Wow.
Oh dear.
And he walked up to Barry Sand, who was producer at the time, and
Yeah.
he said, "I'd like to do the show again." He said, "Why don't you wait till I'm no longer associated with the National Broadcasting Company?" So he did a bit. He was at Caroline's, and he did this thing where he had a sash across his name in the paper, "Banned by Letterman," and the Letterman people called them Caroline's and said, "Take that shit off, or no comic you have at your club will ever be on this."
Right.
And they took it off.
Right.
Hey, that's
Mark?
our show, guys. Stick around if you want to. We can keep this going after this. But,
I do want to. I'm sorry I'm late. I will stick around.
All right. Well, it's time to go off live. So let's continue this off live afterwards. So everybody else will be back here at 8 o'clock next Monday. We'll see you then. Good night.
My cataract surgery was successful, everybody.
Yeah.
I see.
Hey!